Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And whilst we're in the international break, there's not an awful lot going on Chelsea-related news-wise. Obviously, last night we had England winning 2-1. Reece James and Conor Gallagher playing 5 minutes. Ben Chilwell, unused sub. So we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. We're going to try and predict the Chelsea squad for next season in the Premier League. Delighted to be joined by Pys, bro. Great to have you back, mate. It's been a while. Before we get into predicting the squad and all that sort of stuff, let's address the big news that happened last night. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel confirmed as new Bayern Munich manager, replacing Julian Nagelsmann. And it raises the potential possibility of a Tuchel versus Potter Champions League semi-final if we both come through our respective quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? Because that kind of suddenly just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's mental, to be honest. It's really surprising. It shocked me. I didn't think Nagelsmann was, in for the sack at all. I didn't think he was under any pressure. I know obviously they're a bit behind in the Bundesliga, but in the Champions League they've been doing really well. The last round against PSG, they were really, really good. And obviously they've got City as well. And I just didn't really expect them to get rid of Nagelsmann. But bringing Tuchel in, they want to win the Champions League, I think. So. He did it with us. He got to the final with PSG. So I mean, it's not a bad person to bring in. And also, mid-season, as we've seen before, Tuchel doesn't need a lot of time to adapt and to a new team. Especially, I mean, he's in his home country as well. So, you'd expect that he'd do quite well there if the Bayern players obviously, get on with him and take on his tactics and methods. But yeah, it was really, really surprising. And just goes to show you never know what's going on behind the scenes. Things can happen, and yeah, that can be that. In a click of a finger, a decision can be made, and you can't go back. So that's what it is.
Well, it is mad. Like, because you say you look at Nagelsmann's record, and like, despite the fact that they're second in the Bundesliga, right, they're a point or two behind Dortmund. And they've won all 8 of their Champions League games this season. It's clear that Nagelsmann didn't get on with the board, or there were issues kind of behind the scenes and whatnot. We know that Tuchel can be a divisive character in terms of, he can fall out with members of the board and stuff. Bayern's board seem to be kind of quite, I don't know, they could be quite easy to get on the wrong side of, or quite easy to fall out with. I mean, just briefly before we move on, how do you see that kind of Tuchel relationship with the Bayern board going? Because obviously it didn't work very well for Nagelsmann at all.
But it's quite interesting because likes of Fabrizio said that Bayern Munich see Tuchel as perfect off the pitch, and they feel like he's had some difficult situations at Chelsea and PSG, which he definitely did. But I mean, you can't deny the facts. Tuchel has not stayed very long at any of his top coaching roles. So PSG, Dortmund, Chelsea, he didn't last massive amounts of time. So I think he'll win them. The Bundesliga. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Champions League, but I think he could win the Champions League. But it just seems a bit of a, like, I don't know. Obviously, he's a top manager, but it's just a bit like, I don't necessarily know if he's going to get on with that, with their board. It doesn't seem like anyone really does. I think even Ancelotti had issues. So, I mean, how can you have issues with Ancelotti? Like, it's just ridiculous. So,
yeah,
yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, what are your thoughts on a potential? I mean, I know both teams have got tough quarterfinals to get through, but what are your thoughts on like a potential kind of Chelsea Bayern semi-final, Tuchel coming back to Stamford Bridge? I mean, how would you view that if that happened? I mean, it would obviously be a great occasion. How likely do you think that is?
Well, some could say it's written in the stars, to be honest. We beat Madrid. Tuchel knocks out Pep again, and then all of a sudden Tuchel's against Graham Potter to get into the Champions League final. The fact that could happen is like, I'm almost 99.9% sure it is going to happen. It just seems, I don't know whether it's too good to be true or whether it's like, that's 100% happening, but we'll have to see. I mean, I think we can beat Real Madrid, and it sounds crazy considering our season, but if I'm confident we can go to the Bernabeu and not get battered, and in the second leg at Stamford Bridge, I think that's massive. So, as for our chances, I think we've got a good chance, if we turn up, and I think we will in the Champions League. But again, we'll have to see what happens on those 2 nights. And with Bayern and City, that's going to be a really interesting one because, Tuchel's not got long to implement his methods and his tactics to that squad, to a brand new squad ahead of those Champions League ties. And obviously Pep will be looking, at Tuchel. If he does play a similar system at Bayern, he'll want to make things right and not make sure Tuchel literally owns him. So I'm looking forward to watching those 2 legs as well. I'm really excited for the Champions League, to be honest. It's the only thing that, is giving me a little bit of excitement towards
Yeah.
the end of this season. Because the Premier League, I always like watching us play, the Everton. I was happy when we was winning 2-1, but you get dragged back down and we end up drawing. It's just like we've not really got anything to play for. So, knowing the fact that we're 99% likely not going to be in the Champions League next season, it's like you just really want to hope that the boys actually, in quotation marks, actually do give it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't lie, but I am excited for it. I don't know if we're being like a bit naive or getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but like I do genuinely think we can, as you say, I do think we can beat Real Madrid. I'm not saying we're going to, but I do have a belief that we can do it. And it's definitely it's gonna be an exciting end to the season for sure in terms of Champions League and Premier League as well, because we have got a tough run in. We've got big teams to go away to: United, City, Arsenal, Liverpool at home, still Newcastle at home. We've got Brentford and Brighton at home as well, who we need to beat to try and get above them. So end of the season's full on, and there's a lot of big games. I just want to quickly touch on Nagelsmann, because it has kind of raised an interesting debate on Twitter amongst Chelsea fans. Do you think that? I mean, I personally don't think that Bowley and co will get rid of Potter to bring Nagelsmann in. I can't see it personally, but never say never in football. But in your opinion, mate, do you think that Nagelsmann is someone that Chelsea should, or the owners should potentially be looking at?
Well, yeah, I mean, I got, abuse, all sorts of abuse thrown at me earlier. I literally said, let's just get rid of Potter and get Nagelsmann in now, make sure he doesn't get to Tottenham or whatever. But, I'd love us to look at him. I think he's obviously I just think he's a very talented manager. I think he's got a lot of upsides. He's only young still. And I don't know if Graham Potter's that guy, but I'm sure Graham Potter will get the summer, and I think he'll be judged more harshly next season. And after we've cleared the squad out and got some new signings in, hopefully signings that Graham Potter actually has an input and wants as well, because at the moment it does feel a little bit like we've just given him a bunch of players. Hopefully next season will be better, but for the remainder of this season, it's a long shot. It really is a long shot. But yeah, I don't think any changes are going to happen for us.
No, I don't either. But yeah, well, let's wait and see. Look, I'm not against Nagelsmann at all. I fully support Graham Potter in terms of the fact he's a Chelsea manager, so I want him to do well, and I'll get behind him. Obviously, I'll criticise where it's due, and I might lose faith in him, but I won't actively hound him out or want him gone in a kind of a vociferous way, as it were. But I think it does raise an interesting question in terms of like a top manager is available that would seemingly fit what Chelsea are looking to do. Would it be a mistake not to go and get him? I don't really know. It is interesting, but I think what's clear is that the only way Chelsea get Nagelsmann as their next manager is if they make a change before the end of the season, and that realistically is not going to happen. I think Nagelsmann's going to end up at Real Madrid probably next, or maybe PSG. I think if Chelsea want to get him, they basically have to kind of act now, essentially, which we know is not going to happen because unbeaten in the last 4 games. If they were going to get rid of Potter, it would have been a while back when we were, well, could have been a while back when we were losing games left, right, and centre. So yeah, I can't see Nagelsmann happening next season for Chelsea. But it is an interesting conversation. I think he would definitely be a great fit there. But mate, let's throw it forward then. I don't know how easy or difficult this is going to be. There'll definitely be some players agree on, some players maybe not. Let's start with the goalkeeping situation. I was thinking about this the other day, mate. I feel that Edouard Mendy's never going to play for Chelsea again. And it's kind of a weird thought that. I mean, would you agree?
I actually do agree. I actually do agree. I think unless Kepa gets injured, I don't think he's going to play for us again. We've not got any small cup ties. You know, we've literally got Premier League, Champions League. I don't think. I mean, maybe he'll get like the odd game towards the very end of the season, like an odd Premier League game or something. But I couldn't really disagree with you. I don't think, as it stands right now, he will play for us again. I think Mendy's story has just been insane. His rise to the top was incredible, and then his downfall is he's just fell off a cliff. In his performances, and he always had limitations on the ball, but you could rely on him for coming to collect crosses, shot stopping, commanding his area. Like he was a real leader at the back, and he was a part of that brick wall that won us the Champions League. And yeah, it's just really disappointing, to be honest. I'd love him to succeed here, but there's just no way he's going to stay. There's no way he's going to get back into the team, in my opinion.
No, I can't see it, and I think it probably is time. It is time to sell him. I don't know how much money we'll get for him. Maybe 30 odd million quid, I'd imagine. But he's not played football for a while, and he seems to have been out injured for ages with this broken finger. Which, to me, I'm not no expert, but sure, I don't think you'd be out for this amount of time with a broken finger. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I think, as you say, his rise was incredible, and his fall's been just as mad as his rise was. So, as sad as it is really to see, because we've seen what the level he can play at and what he can do, he has kind of fallen off a cliff. And as you say, there's no way, unless Kepa gets injured, he actually even gets back into this team right now. So I think I agree that he will not be here next season. In terms of I think Mendy being sold, for me personally, I think that means that Kepa will stay. I can't imagine us selling 2 goalkeepers and then signing 2 goalkeepers. I just can't see that. Would you agree, mate, that Kepa stays next season?
So this is a really interesting one. I actually did an article last night, and I was explaining, like, just going through the squad, sort of talking about what we're doing now in the summer, and talking mainly about incomings. And I think the goalkeeper one is a really interesting situation because I personally don't see how we can sell both Kepa and Mendy, but at the same time, I'm thinking like is Kepa good enough to be the number one? Like I'm still have my reservations. I think it depends what you want, really, isn't it? I mean, he's had a better season than than most of our squad, but he's still made like 4 or 5 mistakes off the top of my head that I can remember.
Yeah.
And I just think in the big occasions, I don't know if you can trust him. Obviously, we probably won't be in the Champions League next year, but Premier League, if we're looking to make strides up the table and get back in the top 4, top 3, whatever. I'm not sure if he's that guy. So if I had a prediction, I would say he stays, but in what capacity, I don't know. To be honest,
I would agree. I also agree with you, mate, that whilst he's had a good season and he's massively improved from where he was in his Chelsea career, for me, he's not a Premier League winning goalkeeper. As you say, look, all goalkeepers have got mistakes in them, but he's got more mistakes in them than a top keeper would. And I look at it and I think he's going to cost you more points than he's going to save you over the course of a season. And it's definitely a position that we can 100% upgrade on. But so I definitely agree that Kepa is going to be at Chelsea next season in some capacity. Let's talk about backup goalkeepers. We know for sure that Bettinelli will still be here. In terms of the goalkeepers that we've been linked with, mate, to me, I feel that, I mean, out of the likes of Meslier, David Raya, Robert Sanchez, Diogo Costa as well, for me, mate, I honestly feel that I honestly think we're going to end up signing David Raya from Brentford. I think it'll be a free transfer. But I don't know. I don't know what purpose that serves because he's not better than Kepa. Is he going to challenge him for the number 1 spot? Quite possibly, but I don't look at that as a significant upgrade. But we know Selena is probably going to go out on loan somewhere. I mean, what do you look at here, mate? Do you think we could end up with a Diogo Costa, or do you think it's most likely to be David Raya? If I had to take a hunch now, I'd probably say it's going to be David Raya. I mean, what are your thoughts on this goalkeeping situation?
Yeah, I said exactly the same thing pretty much in my article last night. I said I think if I had a prediction, it'd probably be Raya. I don't think he's on a free. I think it would be cost.
Oh, would it be? He's not on a free. Fair.
No, I think it would be. I think it was about 15 to 20 million. So I think it's quite a cost-effective signing. I do rate him very highly. I think he's really good. I rate him higher than most, probably higher than you by sounds of it. But yeah, no, I think he'll be the one. Whether he'll be number one, number two, I think what could happen is like a situation where you said where Kepa stays and they're kind of competing with, for the spot. And but it's so many like different factors. Like it depends whether Graham Potter actually wants that, whether he wants
Yeah.
to solidify number one, or like, do the club want to actually spend a bit more and make sure they get a full, like a long-term goalie who's, at like a world-class level, like maybe like a Mike Maignan or maybe a Diogo Costa? I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting. We've not really had many links apart from, Raya, Sanchez. I think the Dortmund goalkeeper is an interesting one as
Kobel,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, Kobel. I mean, he's Dortmund fan absolutely rave about him. So yeah, I mean, with the high lines and the amount of shots Dortmund face, and with how much he saves and how good he supposedly is, maybe that's a good shout considering he has to face so many shots. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting situation. I think Robert Sanchez can't be ruled out either. I think he's one
But
that's going.
that's interesting. But sorry to interrupt you, mate. But
Yeah,
he currently can't get in the Brighton team. That Jason Steele has displaced
yeah,
him. So
but
that's an interesting one as well. I'm not saying he's a bad goalkeeper, but if you can't, he's not able to get in the Brighton side at the
But
moment.
you think of how good he was under
Yeah, he
Graham
was
Potter
very good. Yeah,
and Ben Roberts. I can just perhaps see a situation where they're like, Graham Potter's like, okay, like, and Ben Roberts, the goalkeeper coach who he brought over from Brighton, they're just gonna maybe be like, okay, he's the guy, we know him, we know how good he can be, let's buy him. But for me, if we're going back to Brighton, you've got to go and buy, a Caicedo or something. I personally
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want Sanchez.
Yeah, I think Raya as well. I mean, that I think that's the safe prediction at this point. I mean, I'd love someone like a Diogo Costa to come. I don't know how much he'd cost, or and whatnot. But yeah, I think if we're going predictions now, I think the three goalkeepers in Kepa, David Raya, and Marcus Bettinelli probably makes the most sense in terms of moving on to. I mean, right back's pretty easy. We can just rattle through that real quick now. For you, mate, Aspilicueta to leave, I think it makes sense. I don't see how he plays much football next season. He's playing a bit part role at the moment, and it's probably best for him to move on. We saw him sign that 2-year deal, but other than experience, there's not really. I don't know why I've done that. There's not really much else happening for him. So would you agree, Pys, that, obviously we've got Reece James and Malo Gusto locked in. Aspie, time to move on in the summer?
Yeah, I think he's one that's 100,000% going to leave. I think he wasn't really supposed to stay on, was he? And then Tuchel
No.
on the board kept him. So yeah, no, there's no chance he's going to stay in the summer. It will definitely be an end to his long career with us. Be sad, but I think time was up potentially a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's going to leave. Yeah.
How are you feeling about seeing Malo Gusto in a Chelsea shirt? Because I think a lot of people are excited by. Obviously, he picked up a hamstring injury which has kept him out for a while. He's been rehabbing at Cobham. It's great to finally have some like a decent level of backup for Reece James. I mean, how much of an impact do you expect him to have next season? Because I mean, he's a talented boy, well thought of, but I don't think he's someone that an awful lot of Chelsea fans would have watched a lot of.
He's the one I've wanted for a while. I've always said if we get a backup right back, I want it to be Gusto. But every time I like tweeted it or replied, I was just thinking, talked about it on stream. I was like, there's no way he's going to join as a backup because I think he could be a starter for like Man United.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
yeah, anyone who needs a right back, I think he's good enough to start for them. From what I've seen, he's a proper player. He's so young as well, man. It's crazy. That right back depth we're gonna have is just gonna be beautiful. I think he's gonna be a top player. I really do. I think he's got everything. I really do, and I think he can only develop it even more. Physically, I think he can develop, but he looks really aggressive. He's fast. Some of his crosses are just beautiful as well. So
yeah.
yeah, and he's really good on the ball. I've watched him quite a few times. He's really good at receiving the ball. He's just a really nice player, and to be, I'm not saying he's like fully complete, but to be that complete at his age is quite impressive. So to have him and James, I think it's going to be really good. And it just allows, I guess, less pressure on James when to not be injured all the time. Obviously, he's going to want to play, but we don't have to worry as much, I guess,
Yeah,
is the idea with that.
100%. And I think the left back situation is very straightforward. Chilwell and Cucurella. I don't think either of those are going anywhere in in the summer. Would you agree with that, mate? I mean, there's a few people that might not want Cucurella to stay, but I mean, I think that's just kind of I don't know. That's just their thoughts, obviously. But mate, do you envisage any chance of Cucurella leaving in the summer? I think that's virtually zero.
No, I think him and Chilwell are going to stay. I honestly think we could sell Matson, which would be quite a big decision. But I just feel like with the left backs that we do have, I think Matson, Burnley, or someone else might try to buy him. And I think with all the rumours
Could he
about
do? Could he do another? Could he do a Prem loan with Burnley another season?
maybe, but again, like unless you have plans to sell Chilwell or Cucurella the following season, then I don't really think. I don't really think.
Yeah,
I
I
don't see a
can't see him
future
in the
here,
squad.
No, I don't see a
I don't.
future.
I don't either. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means that unfortunately, there's no space in the squad for him right now.
Yeah, if we still had like Alonso and Chilwell, then sure, but
yeah,
we don't.
no,
So
I agree. Let's move on to centre backs quickly. Then we know that Thiago Silva will definitely be here next season, and we also know that Wesley Fofana will definitely be here next season, and we know that Badia Chile will be here next season as well. Mate, what are your thoughts on Koulibaly's future? Because there was that Matt Law report a while back saying that Chelsea could look to sell Koulibaly in the summer. His form has somewhat improved since then in the last few games. Obviously, made that big mistake against Everton for the goal. Where do you see his Chelsea future? Because that's an interesting one. That's one of the centre backs that I look at and I think there is a chance he could leave.
yeah, I do think there's a chance, but again, I think it depends on formation as well. Because if we have a four at the back, we would on the right you'd have Silva, Fofana. You've got to think of Levi Colwill as well coming back. You'd have Badia Chile. And I think then you could probably sneak Koulibaly in, and I think even in the back three you could, but I just feel like he's like I don't know if he's going to want to sit around and be on the bench. He's like 31, 32 now, so he's not got loads left in his career, and I think that could be one that might surprise some people, but like not surprise some people at the same time.
Yeah.
It would definitely cause debate because I think as much as he's had a bad season, I think the quality's still there, and I think maybe just one more season to give him another go. See if he can really hit the heights that he did at Napoli.
I'd give him one more season as well. The interesting couple are we've got 4 centre backs locked in. The interesting two are if we're playing a back 4, you don't really need more than 4 centre backs, in my opinion. 5 absolute tops. For me, mate, I can't see how Trevor Chalobah is part of the Chelsea squad next season. I know, and I think that's a real shame because I think he's a good player and he's done really well for us. Never really let us down at all whenever he's been called upon. But you look at it and you look at what we've got available. You cannot see how he gets into that Chelsea team. And I think he's one that will look to be sold because he'll have good market value. He's of a good age, and he'll go to another good side. So I personally feel that he's not going to be here next season, which I think is a shame. But I think that's just the reality of being at a top club when you've got top players here. He's just not quite as good as the others that are ahead of him. I mean, do you agree with that, or do you think that their Chalobah has got a space in the squad for next season?
No, I don't think he does at all. To be honest, I agree with you. It would be kind of it would be a painful one because I'd rather personally keep him over Koulibaly. I think he's much better for our future. I just think he's massively underrated as well. Whenever Chalobah plays for us,
yeah,
like he doesn't make many mistakes, and when he does, it's mostly down to lapse in concentration, or you just got to remember like he's he's still very young as well. Like I just don't see the point in us selling him, but I do believe we will. Again, you can't ignore, all the reports saying that, especially if we don't get Champions League, the academy guys are going to be sort of first port of call for sales because, their sales count as pure profit on the financial books. So, yeah, I don't think he has a place here, to be honest.
No, I agree with that. I mean, having said that, do we feel then that do we feel Levi Colwell has got a future at Chelsea next season? I know a lot of people rave about him. He's been doing well at Brighton. A lot of people think he's kind of the next guy, as it were, kind of coming that's come through the academy. I just look at what's ahead, and I just look at it and I think he's no better than any of these guys. How does he fit in? Like I
It's,
can't see it. I'm not saying that he's a bad footballer. I think it would be a shame to lose him. But does he deserve more minutes than Fofana, Thiago Silva, or Badiashile? Or Koulibaly? I would argue not. Now,
I would have him over Koulibaly any day of the week.
yeah.
I think.
Do you think he stays next season,
Yeah,
Colwell?
no,
Yeah,
I think he has to stay. I think honestly, I think he's the next big thing. He's getting an England call up as well in the summer, according to Sammy Mockbell. So, yeah, he's only 19 years old. Honestly, his ball playing is just ridiculous, and left-footed centre backs are so rare as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I've watched him quite a few times now, and I just think if I look at like attributes in a defender, fast, strong, really just aggressive, like powerful, and just good on the ball. Like I think he could honestly be, one of our futures. Him and Badiashile as left centre back options. That would be really nice for me. I think he's one that Chelsea fans are going to love next season when he does play.
Yeah, so we're looking at that, mate, and we've got centre halves of Silva, Fofana, Koulibaly, Badiashile, and Colwell as the five. Do we think there's any chance that we sign Josko Gvardiol?
Oh, there's always a chance with these owners. I mean, I said it in my piece. I said like you never really know because I feel like it could be a thing where if they've, especially if they like agree with like Felix with like an obligation for the next summer.
Yeah,
Like if they have like spare cash in the bank, they might just go, okay, we know, like we can't let City or Real Madrid have Gvardiol. Let's just go and get Gvardiol as well. But that for me, I think it's a needless signing. I think Colwell, you've got to prioritise Colwell. I do believe, honestly, Colwell is going to be the real deal. I really do. I mean, Arsenal fans, he played against Arsenal in the cup, and Arsenal fans are absolutely raving about him, saying,
yeah.
where's this kid come from? Who's this Brighton centre back? And all the Chelsea accounts were like, he's ours. And they were like, oh, fuck, sort of thing. So, yeah, no, I do think we need to prioritise Cole. And I think with Badiashile as well, like, Gvardiol just kind of, I don't know, man. I think he's a great player, but the price is just absurd. And I think we've got other, pressing priorities in our squad. I don't think we need to spend such a stupid amount on a position we don't really need.
I would agree on that, but I would also agree that I wouldn't entirely rule it out either, which is kind of the mad thing. Let's move it on to midfield then. That's a big area for the summer. We know that obviously Enzo Fernandez is going to be in. We also know that no, we don't really, to be fair. I mean, you probably know that N'Golo Kante will sign a contract extension as well. Mate, the rest of the positions are kind of up for grabs. Let's start with your boy, mate, Mateo Kovacic. Obviously, out of contract at the end of next season. So this is the summer where he either needs to agree a new deal or he's going to be sold. Where do we think his future lies at the club? Because I've kind of ummed and ahed on this one. I've looked at it, I thought hasn't had a particularly good first half to the season. Then he's come back and he's done pretty well in the last few games. We've had kind of reports saying initially that maybe he wants a new challenge, and then more recent reports saying that Chelsea want to keep him, having sold Jorginho. They see his leadership value and whatnot like that. Do you expect Kovacic to be at Chelsea next season?
I don't know if I can say expect, to be honest, but I hope he will be. I
Yeah,
think, especially with recent performances, giving him, Graham Potter giving him the captain's armband for what was it, 3 or 4 games recently. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that could play a big part potentially. You know, a message to him, trying to get him to sort of stay and believe in the future as well. But yeah, gonna be interesting because I don't think he's gonna be a guaranteed starter next season like he is
No.
now. But he's someone that I think would be just a great squad player. And I hate using the word squad player because, like, you know, Loftus-Cheek's a squad player, and Kovacic, obviously, for you compare those and Gallagher in terms of like talent. You know, obviously
Yeah,
Kovacic much better, you know, player and experience. But yeah, I think having that sort of depth in the squad would be ideal, and also experience. We've got so many
massive.
young
Yeah.
players. Like I know Kante might stay, but Kante's Kante. Like he's like the shyest guy ever, and Kovacic is, you know, like he's one of the only older guys in the squad now, and it's just like I am, you know, sometimes I do get a little bit concerned with just the sheer amount of young players we're buying. I just feel like we need that bit of, you know, mix in. Like if you look at our midfielders, not really got any older midfielders apart from Kante and Kovacic. So ideally, you want to you know extend those two and keep them, in my opinion.
I would agree, and I also expect that's what will happen. I think Kovacic will be here next season. Sticking with the midfield, bro. In terms of outgoings, I can't see how Loftus Cheek and Gallagher are both here next season, and I think purely because of in terms of market value. I suspect that Chelsea will sell Conor Gallagher this summer. I know he's been kind of featuring a bit more recently. He seems to be first option from the bench at the moment. But you look at him, you look at Everton were prepared to spend £45 million on him in January. I think he's worth more than Loftus Cheek is, probably because of age and probably potential as well. And I look at it and I just think Ruben is happy to stay as a squad player and not play that many minutes. Whereas I think Gallagher at his age needs to go out and play football. And from a business sense as well, we're going to get more money for Gallagher than we would for Loftus Cheek. So I just think I can't see Conor Gallagher at Chelsea next season. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I think he was obviously very close to being sold late on in the January window, but didn't want to go to Everton. I think this is one that the club will absolutely cash in on. I think, you know, if Graham Potter tries to keep this guy here and reject the £40 million bid, I'm sorry, like he's gone mental. That money for
Yeah.
me is vital. It's vital. He's not, you know, I mean, he's a useful body to have, but you can like, yeah, I don't need to go too deep into it. Like, I
No.
just think, yeah, just sell him. I think he's a nice guy, Chelsea Academy product, but like, is he really like Chelsea level? I don't know, man. Like,
I don't
there's
think so.
time, it's times where I'm watching him for Crystal Palace, and I thought, you know, he's actually higher than Crystal Palace level. I don't know what club he'll go to, but I just don't like. I feel like he's a bit in between. He's like too good for the bottom sides, but like not good enough for like Chelsea, City, Arsenal type sides. It's an interesting one with him.
I agree, man. I think he's one of those that not ultimately not quite good enough. Do we then expect Loftus Cheek to be in the squad next season? I think he probably will be, just because of his versatility and the fact that he doesn't really tend to make a fuss about too much. So I think Ruben will be in the squad. I mean, do you think he will as well?
Um, no, I don't think so. Actually,
I think so.
I think I think this one will be dependent on the bids we get in. I don't think there'll be too much interest in him, but I think like he would obviously the club I think and Graham Potter would probably be happy for him to stay. But now that we've also got like Gusto for like right wing back or whatever cover,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think he's that like versatile anymore. Like when he's versatile, but like he's need to be versatile for us. He's not like as you know as needed as it maybe once was. So no, I don't think he's gonna stay actually, Charlie. I think we might sell him.
Yeah, guys in the chat, let us know your thoughts. You've got one that thinks Ruben's going to stay, one that's not. So I've put your thoughts in the chat, and we'll go with that. Oh, we've also got. Do we think Andre Santos is going to be part of the squad next season? Obviously, he's on loan in Brazil at the moment, back at Vasca. Um, do we see him going out? I personally feel he's going to go out on another loan somewhere. Personally, a European loan, top 5 league. That's my hunch right now. Would you agree with that, mate?
The interesting one, actually, I think this because obviously Chelsea tried to get him a work permit, so
Yeah,
obviously they believe in him quite high. You know what? I was very impressed. I watched a lot of the games in the under 20 South American Championship that he
yeah,
played.
yeah.
Looks like a real good buy, honestly. leadership as well. And this guy, he's proper like, he reminds me of Thiago Silva in some senses. Like, I don't know, it just seems to be like born into him. Like, he's got that sort of warrior mentality, warrior spirit when he plays. He was captain for the Brazil side. Don't think he's going to be on the FIFA
No,
database.
mate, he's got no FIFA database for Andre Santos. The disrespect. Oh, well,
No,
there we go.
but yeah, I have to put an imaginary card there. But I think he's going to be one that will be decided on in pre-season and not
Yeah,
anywhere in between, or yeah, anywhere between like now and then. I think pre-season will decide that one.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. Right, that's agreed. Then Loftus-Cheek not in the squad next season. Right, mate. This is where it gets interesting now because Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher gone. We've got Kante, Kovacic, and Fernandes. We think are certainly going to be at Chelsea next season. Who comes in? Mate, I can't lie. I've fully on the Declan Rice train at the moment, and have been for a while. Mate, what are your thoughts on this? We've kind of had the first concrete links last week or earlier this week with Declan Rice under the new ownership. We know that Arsenal are interested. We know that teams that miss out on Bellingham will become interested in Rice as well. Do we think Declan Rice part of the squad next season?
No, probably not, especially if Mount leaves. But I don't know. He's definitely going to leave West Ham, and you know what's interesting about this? I know there's been a lot of rumours with Rice to Arsenal, but I just feel like in some senses we might like try and bid it out with them like we did with Mudryk, but yeah, I'm going to say no. I feel like it may be someone else that maybe we'll
What?
discuss, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we know there's going to be one definite marquee midfield arrival. So if it's not Declan Rice, bro, are you thinking Romeo Lavia from Southampton? I know he's only just joined 6 months ago. He's going to cost a decent chunk of money, but if Southampton get relegated, that weakens their stance massively, and it also weakens their their ability to get a top fee for him. Do we therefore think that Lavia is more likely than Declan Rice to be playing for Chelsea next season?
Yeah, I think it's more likely because he's got the connection with Joe Shields as well, and I think in terms of his age, I think he's like 19. He may be costing only 25 to 30 million, which would be a bargain. And I think he's one that I really really like. I think he's going to be a top player, and I mean, just look at his performance against us at Stamford Bridge when he
Mate, he
when he
was bossing
absolutely
it.
when he played, he was playing as the six and played the goal. He played the ball out to him, and he just absolutely done Kovacic on the turn. I was just like, yeah, this guy's got so much class about him for being 19. City do have a
I
buyback on
agree.
him, yeah.
They got first option, haven't they?
I think they've got a buyback, but they've got Calvin Phillips and stuff, so I don't know
Ah,
if
yeah,
they'll sign him. But
yeah.
yeah,
I also, as I said, if they go down, it makes him even cheaper as well. So that's Lavia in. We feel for next season. That still leaves us a little bit short. I think we still need one more. For me, you look at the names you've been linked with. Do you think someone like a Manu Kone from Mönchengladbach might come in as well, or do we feel that it's going to be one kind of big-ish money signing and then another kind of complementary midfielder alongside? I mean, Kone admittedly probably wouldn't cost that much anyway, so he could be that guy. I mean, is there even an outside chance that we could sign Dennis Zakaria on a permanent if he gets his act together a little bit? Who knows? But Pys, for you, bro, Manu Kone at Mönchengladbach, do we think there's a possibility that's likely?
good player, another good player. Again, like I do see it as more likely than a Declan Rice just because of the links we have into
Yeah.
hierarchy. Obviously, Christopher Dell and stuff. Known to be quite a big fan of him, but yeah, it's so hard to predict the midfield because like you've got the likes of Ugarte as well from Sporting, who I think is a very good player. Obviously, we've had no
Yeah.
link with him yet, but he's a good player. There's a lot of rumours about Palinha from Fulham, who's obviously the DM.
Good player.
He's a really good player.
What about Alexis McAllister as well?
Yeah, he's another one. He could be, a wild card. He played for Graham Potter, of course, and obviously Caicedo. I forgot about him as well.
Even though do we still
Caicedo
think
could be.
he's possible? Even though
Yeah,
he signed a new
absolutely.
contract, that's not off limits.
No, absolutely. I don't think it's going to affect things. Yeah, no, I think he could be one that we look at again. I think Fab said Arsenal's still interested, so again, it looks like it'd probably be a battle between us and Arsenal a lot for the midfield, maybe Man United as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's hard to say like, yeah, him and him are going to be, the
yeah,
silence. It's really hard
it
because
is hard. But
again,
if
like,
yeah, go on.
yeah, no, I was going to say like in a few weeks' time, like we could have, an idea on who our priority target is. But for now, I
Yeah.
mean, we don't really know. It's just a lot of links, a lot of names. It's kind of difficult.
I think I'm just gonna go with Kone. That's just my hunch right now. On that, is that Manu Kone? This is him here.
Yeah,
On that,
quite
bro.
a
If we went into next season right with our 5 midfield options as Fernandez, Kovacic, Kante, Lavia, and Manu Kone, how would you feel about that? Would that represent a midfield rebuild in your eyes, or do you still feel did that leave you feeling like we still need a bit more?
No, I think in terms of like defensively, I think it would be a lot better. But I think, yeah, it just depends again. Like if we play a double pivot, I think those are some outstanding options there. But
Yeah,
if we play like a 4-3-3 or something, which I don't think we will, but if we did, you'd probably want maybe a more attacking player
yeah,
in there than a Kone, because from what I know about Kone, he's more of a he can kind of do both. He's more of a box to box, very good at dribbling out of tight spaces. Um, Kind of similar to Caicedo, to be honest. But I think we should be looking at profiles that are like specialists in one area. Like I do think we need an absolute specialist DM that can just sit, pick the ball up.
yeah,
But he's not like it's not like a Jorginho where like I feel like we need a more like a robust like athletic DM, who can cover the space and let Enzo go forward a bit. And I think Lavia ticks that box. Rice ticks that box. So there's a couple of main ones that I would want, but there's also others that if they join, I'm not gonna be like, what the hell is that signing type
yeah.
thing.
Do we think Zakaria is a almost no go completely on terms of a permanent transfer? I look at it and I think if he actually plays well for the rest of the season, like that 30 or 35 million buy option on him, it's pretty cheap for a midfielder. Um, I mean, do you think there's any value or any merit in signing Zakaria on a permanent?
Um, I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I don't think he's a bad player, but like for me, I would only sign Zakari if we started playing him as like the more defensive player and he started like really impressing.
Yeah,
But again, he's another one who's been used by Graham Potter and more further forward. Like it's a bit of a weird one because look at his profile, you think he's big, he's strong, he's pretty quick. He's good in the tackle, he's good at covering ground. You probably think he's more of a DM, but seems to be more used as a ball carrier more than anything, which is quite surprising. Which is yeah.
yeah. It'll certainly be interesting, but yeah, we're going to roll with that. My personal choice would be Declan Rice, if it can happen. But yeah, we've gone with Lavia and Kone. So, mate, let's move. Actually, no, staying on midfield. Sorry, last one. We're going to classify Mason Mount as a midfielder. Mount going to be at Chelsea next season? Yes or no? We don't need to go into it in too much detail because it's pretty boring. If we're being really honest, my thoughts are that I still think he will be at Chelsea next season. That's my thoughts. I just feel that they will get things sorted out. I think you tweeted out, mate, that Fabrizio was saying that Mount does want to stay at Chelsea, but only on his terms. So I don't know how far apart they are in terms of terms and whatnot, but at this point in time, what's your hunch on Mount? Stay or go?
At this point in time, I'd have to say go, especially because of
Yeah,
the amount of money I think we could get for him. But um, yeah, no, this one, you could talk about it all day, but as of right now, no. Do I have slight optimism that will agree something? Yeah, because I think he is an academy product, and I think obviously he's been a mainstay in our team, but I just don't see. At the moment, I just don't see like us giving him what he wants because I just feel like why are these negotiations so hard? Because what is the difference? What is the
yeah,
like? Because right now we've been basically told that you know they're literally a stalemate. They're not even talking right now, so it's like they must be so far apart that I don't know if it's reversible. I don't know if yes, it's a strange one. It really is
It
strange. I'd
it
love
is.
to, I love to read the article whenever that comes out. I'm sure there'll be some, behind the scenes thing that comes out if he leaves or, but yeah, weird one.
It is a weird one. Moving on to the front line then, mate. I've got obviously Mudryk, Havertz, and Sterling all locked in to be here next season. I know we've been heavily critical of Havertz, like a lot of Chelsea fans have, and I personally think think we should sell him in the summer. But that's I don't think that's going to happen now. Would you agree on that, mate? If Graham Potter's in charge next season at the start, which I think he probably will be, there's no way Kai Havertz leaves.
Yeah, I don't know. It's another one where I'm thinking like,
But is Tuchel going to sign him at Bayern? Now that he's there,
yeah, it's a good point.
that's the thing. Like
I actually didn't think of that. It's a good point.
Bayern was an obvious kind of choice potentially, but look at Tuchel. I can't see how
Yeah, that's a
Tuchel's
really
going to
good point,
sign him.
I didn't even
Yeah,
think of that. Yeah, I just like for me though, like I don't think he's a starter next season
no,
because
I would agree.
does Havertz really want to sit on the bench? I don't think so. So I can actually see him being sold, but I don't think he will go. I think he'll stay, another season or two, just because
Yeah,
Graham Potter likes him so much. But again, like if they're like, well, we've got a £60 million bid here, you've got Nkunku coming in, we'll get you an actual striker. What do you say? Like I can see him maybe like then saying okay, sort of thing, but I don't know.
yeah.
He does seem to really like him, but I don't think it's a definite like Havertz is staying, to be honest, because I think again, mount him, there's probably there's over £100 million between those two there, and I just think
Yeah, for sure.
we need to raise money, and if we want to spend again in the transfer market, these types of like we're gonna have to make some big sales. So like, how can you
We
not?
are, yeah.
Like the rumors of Chilwell as well to Man City, like you can't fully rule that out. I think Chilwell's staying, but you can't fully like it's not completely off this planet that we could sell him to Man City for a big bid. So is what it is.
Yeah,
I think most people are up for sale apart from like the new signings and a couple of others.
yeah, I would agree, but I think on the face of it right now, if we had to say, I think Havertz will be here next season. We've obviously got Havertz, Sterling, Mudryk hit confirmed here for next season. As now we know, Nkunku's going to come in as a definite. We know Madueke will be here next season as well. In terms of wide players going out, I think it's clear Christian Pulisic's not going to be part of the plans. Neither is Hakim Ziyech. Now, João Felix is an interesting one. I love him. I think he's great. Yes, his output could be better, but you can tell since he's come in, he's raised the level of that attack. And, he does ooze class. And I would like to see him permanently, 85 million pounds. I think we can raise that through player sales. I'd be all for keeping him. But, mate, do we think that's likely? I think the club want to do it, and I think a deal can be arranged. So I personally feel that Havertz will be here. That Felix will be here next season. Do you share those views?
Yeah, well, he bloody better be because I love watching Felix. He's one of my favourite players right now, and I just feel like the guy's only going to explode even more as he gets, not even more confident because he's very confident already, but like just more experience in the league and more comfortable with his teammates around him, combinations, that type of thing. So, yeah, no, Felix better be here, man. I'd be ecstatic if we signed him permanently. I think he's an absolute baller. Um,
Yeah.
but, what I would say is I wouldn't be surprised and I'd actually be really happy if we agreed another loan with an obligation for the
Yeah.
next summer because then we could actually, obviously we'd have to like talk about and think about finance coming out of the next window, but we'd probably still have more funds freed up for this window as well. Whereas, if you sign Felix for 80 million, that's already 8 million out of the budget when you've only just done one attacker who, we don't really like talking about strikers and stuff like that. Strikers are going to be bloody expensive. We're going
Yeah.
to need a midfielder. We're going to need, a goalie. So
Well, we're gonna have to spend we're
yeah,
gonna have to spend a lot of money, bro.
yeah.
For sure. Just a quick one here, mate. How do you feel? Do you think I think we've discussed this before with Lawrence, maybe, or someone's discussed it. I can't remember who. How do we see How do we see Felix and Nkunku in the same team? If we go 4-2-3-1, I could see it as maybe Nkunku as the 10 with Felix playing as the 9, as it were. But then if we sign a 9, then that probably isn't going to happen. I mean, how do you picture Felix and Nkunku in the same team next season, or do you not?
Well, I think Graham Potter's said, Felix can play pretty much anywhere across the front line. I think Felix could play on either wing, to be honest. Obviously, he's not the quickest, but he's definitely got, the technical ability, the flair, that type of thing, dribbling ability. I think Nkunku could probably do the same as well. I think we'll probably, try and rotate quite a bit as well, because obviously we've got Sterling, Mudryk, Madueke. Like, we're going to have a lot of attackers next season. So it's going to be interesting, but I can definitely see them fitting both into the team, because otherwise we wouldn't be wanting to sign Felix at the end of the day, and we clearly do. So I think they've definitely sort of got some sort of idea in their heads, the recruitment team, Graham Potter. So yeah, and obviously, like, things people don't think about as well is, like, the international breaks are like an ideal time to talk about the summer and this type of thing. So I think Nkunku is going to be a very interesting signing for us. I'm really excited to see him play for us. But I can see, I can definitely see them fitting both in somehow, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to. So, yeah.
I mean, this is a good point as well here, mate, that if we don't get any European football, that's going to be a bigger problem. I mean, I feel we will end up playing something.
We better win the league if we don't get European football.
I mean, I feel like we'll end up playing something, even if it ends up being Conference League. I do think we'll play something, but there's a fair point now. That's going to be a nightmare to juggle if we're just playing once a week, because there's really next to no reason other than injuries, really, suspensions, and the odd 1 or 2 changes here and there to rotate aside much if you're playing once a week. So that could be a problem. So even though it would be annoying, I think for the squad and that, and juggling the players, we could do with having more games, essentially. But guys, before we move on to discussing the number 9, keep smashing the likes on the stream and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, ideally before the end of the season. There's about 400 to go still, so let's knock those ones off. So if you're watching now, you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It massively helps me out. And you can also donate via the super chat function as well if you wish to do so. Any donation would be greatly appreciated by myself. Bro, the number 9, we talk about it all the time at Chelsea. We get excited, and then we sort of another one that's going to be gone, Aubameyang. He definitely won't be here next season. We get excited about the number 9. Before I move into that, Lukaku, what are we doing with him next season? We know he's not going to play a part, but where does he go?
Bro, send him to Al Nassr or something.
Mate, I actually don't think Inter want him next season.
The thing is, I know they're talking like they don't want him, but I feel like they still really want him and just trying to get the price down or something for another loan, or that type of thing, because I just think, like, Inter, they know what he can do in that league. And also, I would also keep an eye out on Conte back to Inter as well. I think that could maybe happen. And if Conte goes back to Inter, because he'd probably go back to Italy and
gets Lukaku on that fish diet again. It'll
be like Conte, right? Honestly, this would be. Imagine this, right? Conte goes to Inter Milan. We loan Lukaku to Inter Milan again. He bangs in a 30-goal season, and we get like 60 million back. How good would that be? That would be the dream.
Let's try and speak it into existence. But Lukaku won't be here next season. The number 9 is exciting, mate. Linked with a few names. Victor Osimhen is going to cost over 100 million quid. Dusan Vlahovic wouldn't cost as much. Another option. We've got Gonzalo Ramos at Benfica, another potential option, and Ivan Toney at Brentford as well. For me, my personal choice would be Ivan Toney, and I know people might think, what you think you'd rather have him than Victor Osimhen? The reason I would rather have him is because I think his profile would suit us. I know Premier League proven doesn't really mean that much, but he does know the league, and I just think it would be a good fit for us. And I also don't personally see how we can afford to sign Felix permanently and sign Osimhen as well. I don't see how that's possible. who knows? But for me, my personal choice would be Ivan Toney, out of the names you've been linked with. But Pys, before we think what's most likely, out of the names you've kind of been linked with, your Osimhen's, your Tonys, your Vlahovic's, Gonzalo Ramos, who would you personally like to see?
Tony as well, like you, to be honest. Tony or Osimhen, I think, are the main ones I want to see. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting because Graham Potter's also said quite a few times that you don't look at City; they won the league without a striker, that type thing. So I don't know, man. I don't really know, but we've definitely had a lot of sources saying striker is one of the priorities, one of the main priorities. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think, yeah, something just tells me they're just going to go all out for Osimhen, to be honest. But
I'd feel a bit worried about that. Not because
yes,
he's not
so
because
would
he's
I,
not
'cause of
a,
the
not
price
because he's
tag,
not
but
not because he's not a good player, because it's a phenomenal amount of money to spend. And Osimhen and Lukaku are different players for sure, but all the things people are getting excited for Osimhen about were all the things that Lukaku was doing in Italy as
I
well.
literally said this in my article
So
last night, by the way.
so so like
Literally
so
said the
where so
same
where
thing.
so like
Yeah.
whilst I'm not comparing the two players, we're getting overexcited as fans about Osimhen, but Lukaku was doing exactly the same thing in Serie A when we were
Yeah.
in the build up to us signing him. So how
The
come?
only thing is, Osimhen is obviously just. I mean, he's had less fitness issues and he's much younger. So
Yeah, true.
I think those are the only two things in his advantage. And fitness can be literally make or break for a player. But I did say, whilst they're not the same players, I do, all those attributes that we mentioned for Osimhen, pace, the finishing, the heading ability, the
Yeah,
strength, the power, the right, like that all applied to Lukaku. So, it would worry me a little bit, but I would, I would still, get the better of myself and be gassed if we signed him, probably.
mate. Do you think we can? Do you think we can afford to sign Felix permanently and sign a 9?
I think if the
Because
other positions were cheap, then yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah, I look at this right now, and if we didn't sign a 9, I'd feel that we're a little bit short going into next season. If we went into next season with Havertz, Felix, and Kunku, Sterling, Madueke, and Mudryk, I just feel we might be a little bit short with that. I, d- I don't know. I just don't know there's enough goals in there, realistically. But it's really tough to say. I mean, but yeah, I mean, just to round this one out, bro. The centre forward. Then, who do we think is? If we're making our prediction now for next season, what player do we think? What 9 do we think is going to be in the squad?
I'm gonna go with Osimhen. I think.
Osimhen, mate. That
Yeah,
it would be scenes. It
I,
would be
I, I
scenes.
just I think there's going to be one big signing. I think they're just going to want to make another statement. The ownership, I think. I
I
just
mean,
got a
it, I
feeling they're
mean,
going to.
I mean, I'm here for it, but I'm also skeptical about it as well.
Yeah, I think.
Let's say Osimhen. Let's go with it. A good point here that I've completely forgotten about. Fafana will go on loan somewhere, mate. What's going to happen to Broja? Where does he fit in all this? Because let's be real, where
I,
he's not getting.
I
What,
think I think we'll either send him on loan or I think we'll sell him. Honestly.
even though he literally just signed a 6-year deal last summer.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I
That's
do think
mad,
so.
isn't it?
Yeah,
That
loan for Fofana definitely, but Broja, I don't. You think about it though. Like we signed a new striker, Havertz and Nkunku are next in line, and then you've then you've got Felix as well, who can play there. So it's like
yeah,
Broja
I
is
don't
not
see
going
where
to get a game.
I don't see where he plays. I really
No, he
don't.
won't get a game. So I don't see how he stays. To be honest
And
with you,
he's
at all.
probably, I mean, we don't know what he's going to be like after his ACL, but he's at least a 30 million pound player. Could be more.
Mm, yeah,
Could
it's
be more.
interesting.
No, I don't think Nkunku is the statement signing. I don't think so. No, I mean, do you think Nkunku's a statement signing?
I think he's a very good signing, but I think statement signings are, like
Like an Enzo, for example.
yeah, like ridiculous money, and I just think what makes me positive about Osimhen is the fact that one, we could obviously sell Koulibaly back to them, but it was said at the time as well, like that ADL was quite impressed with how we did our negotiations
Yeah,
with them,
and he's hard to
and
deal with as well.
yeah, and that was not the case under Marina. So I just feel like my second point would be who else can like afford to buy Osimhen? Like I know
PSG, Real Madrid.
I don't know. I don't see them buying him.
No,
I don't
I
see them
don't
buying
think
him.
so
I
either.
honestly think it's us or Man United, honestly, for Osimhen.
No, I don't think Osimhen, Man United. If the Qataris get Man United, they could certainly afford Osimhen.
They're linked to him or Harry Kane.
Or Harry Kane. I think United would rather have Harry Kane than Osimhen. That's kind of how I see it.
I mean, I'd love us to try and get Harry Kane, but see if we can.
I would as well, but I could just never see it happening. I
Nah.
just can't. We've seen players go from Chelsea to Tottenham. Very rarely have we seen it the other way around. From Spurs to Chelsea. I mean, I actually can't think of any. I'm sure there have been some, but like kind of more recent ones, I think not. Mate, so I missed it earlier. Someone in the chat was asking for your thoughts on Dusan Vlahovic. How do you view him?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I've not watched too much of him, to be honest with you. But I know Juve fans are a bit iffy. To be fair, there's some that rate him. There's some that think he's a bit of a donkey. Can't dribble, that type of thing. Not the fastest. So I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on that. Obviously, he's a very good finisher, but especially in the Premier League, we all know that you need more than finishing. So
Yeah,
that's why I think Tony's such a good player, because he's just like the perfect blend of everything. Like he
yeah,
can play in the two, he can play on his own. Like his link up play and passing is just outrageous. Like his movement, his finishing. Like for me, he's like the complete package, and it's crazy that he's he's played for Brentford for a few seasons.
mate.
And
He's
no
got a
one's
lot. I mean, everyone goes on about how unbelievable Rashford's been this season, right? Tony's still got more Premier League goals than him this
it's
year,
mental, isn't it?
and
It's
and
crazy.
and and no and
He's
no
so
one
underrated.
seems
So
to
underrated.
mention it. He is underrated. The only thing that's going against said Vlahovic, not Tadic. The only thing going against Tony is this ban potentially that's hanging over him.
Yeah.
Until that gets resolved, I don't think anyone's going to be making any moves for him, which is kind of frustrating. But let's wait and see what happens on that one. Very quickly, deals before we round this one out. What's going to happen with Kepa? We bring a new goalkeeper in. Depends who that new goalkeeper is. If it's David Raya, which we've predicted, I think Kepa still will be number one, but they'll be competing for that spot. But if we bring in a Diogo Costa or someone like that potentially, then maybe Kepa does go. But I can't see us selling both of them. That's the reality of the situation. Kepa and Mendy, I don't think will both go this summer. I'd be shocked if that happened. Very quickly, bro, would you know much about this? Is there a chance we get director of football in the summer? We know that we still want Edwards. Maybe he's had a long enough break. Who knows? And Paul Mitchell is going to be leaving Monaco. Do you think any of those are potential, mate?
I think someone else could still come in, but if you look at our current hierarchy, I think the Athletic posted like a hierarchy sort of tree where it was showing basically like top to bottom of the positions of people. Like we currently have two co-sporting directors, so
We don't
that's
need another
obviously
one.
Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure who would come in and what they would do, but I wouldn't be totally shocked to see us expand it in some way. But yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting because I saw a report the other day as well. Luis Campos was apparently supposedly
Yeah, I
still
saw that as
contacting
well.
us. So yeah, I mean, I don't see the logic in it now that we've got two co-sporting directors. But we'll see. I mean, Michael Edwards, I'd still love him at Chelsea
Yeah,
if
for
he was
sure.
ready to come out of his break. But yeah,
Yeah.
could be an interesting one.
What happens with Hudson-Odoi is that he gets sold. Is what happens in my opinion. I can't see any future for him at Chelsea.
Mm,
Would you
yeah,
agree? Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah. With Garnato, I don't know if you mean Nonto from Leeds, but I've not seen any links from that. I've not heard of a Garnato player. Yeah, bro. Seems. But what about Vitor Roque? Again, another young Brazilian. Not really sure what's going to happen with him. I think I've seen some quotes from him saying, I don't play for Barcelona yet. Maybe he was dropping a hint there. I don't really know. But again, he's only like 16 or something. He wouldn't be able to come till he's 18. So, yeah.
Hey, talking about Lukaku, he scored a brace against Sweden tonight. So
Has he?
maybe...
Oh well, mate. Maybe that's a few. Maybe he's worth about 20 mil now, which could be off. Cho is probably worth, I reckon, 20 million quid. You got 20 million for Cho. You take it. I can't see how you get much more than that. In all honesty.
Oh, it hurts me talking about Hudson-Odoi, man. It really
Mate, it does. I really like him, and the Achilles injury just ruined him, basically.
Yeah,
You know,
fucking big time.
I mean, you see those clips of him in the academy. The guy was a joke.
So good,
Mate, he was so clear of everyone. It's mad. Pys, do you know anything much about Vitor Roque?
No, I don't. I
No,
don't know anything. No, I don't know much about
no.
him. Just like you said, obviously Barca. Um, yeah, not really too much. There was. I'm trying to think of.
There's
No,
always
no.
a few
Yeah.
sniffing about in there, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, seems like a pretty good place to round out. Pys, you've rebranded the website, haven't you, bro? What's going on there? Still the same thing, but it's called something different now.
Yeah, londonsfirst.com. We've got my article that I posted last night. It's about 2,000 words. Basically, what we've been talking about
Yeah.
in this room, sort of the summer, the squad planning, that type of thing, given potential target signings. So if you want to go and read that, that would be sick. I've got Aranyak in here as well, who's been commenting a lot. He's our lead designer, so go and check out his covers as well. They're really sick. But yeah, londonsfirst.com now.
And you passed 300k on Twitter the other day as well.
Yeah, I did. It's
Yeah,
mental.
mad.
Mental.
Mental. Nah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you check out the website, linked in the description, and check Pys out on Twitter as well for all your Chelsea-related news. From myself, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for getting involved in the chat as always. Make sure you smash the likes on the stream on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Just hit that subscribe button on your way out. It would be greatly appreciated, and it helps me out more than you could imagine. I don't know when I'll be back. Not tomorrow, maybe on Sunday. With some news, if there's anything, as we build back up to getting towards Chelsea playing again. He's still got a week to go. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Smash the likes, subscribe to the channel, enjoy your Friday, have a good weekend, and catch you again soon.